Ross, have you decided if there will be farewell games for Daniel Pearce or Michael Johnson?
No, we're still working through that. Ongoing discussions about what they're doing. So once that's all formalised, we'll come to the market with that.
What are you weighing up in terms of that? What's the consideration?
Well, we've got to look at the team. We've got injuries. We've got availability. We're still a professional sporting organisation and clearly on the back of last week, we really need to improve. So we've got to balance up the emotion and what you're talking about with hard-nosed professionalism and sentiment, you know. So, but unfortunately, we're in a position where finals aren't on the radar, and you know, we've got a little bit of liberty to take. But each player is different, and how they want to go about it, whether you do a press conference or you play, or so, you know, we'll tailor it to everyone's needs. But on the back of that, it's not really my role. Clearly, I've had discussions behind closed doors with. But in the end, it all goes up the chain. It goes through football operations and Steve Rossich, really, and then finalise it.
Are you personally a believer in a bit of fanfare?
Well, I'm such an emotional person. That's I really enjoyed. I remember when I was playing, it might have been Robert Shaw, who's been at this club, who's a great football person, but I think he played from Balmain Pearce, who was a one-club player. I think he did it hard, but he had a wonderful career. I just remember his last game, the farewell and the fans and the tears, and really in a whole sense, in a real sense, that stayed with me forever. The joys of being that one club player, I think he was, in that heart and soul player and a great player. And the Pavlich, you know, obviously was a fantastic day for the club, and we played good footy, and we brought back in De Boers and Mains, those senior guys who had been, you know, being squeezed out because we had started just playing as many whatever kids were on the list. So yeah, that was a really special day. I think, you know, you see players finish on 199 games when they can get to 200. Like, you know, I think Kevin Sheedy was fantastic at getting them to 200, but there's been others, it's only a number. So, yeah, I think there's a bit of room for it, but we'll have to balance that up.
There's talk that Daniel Pearce might not want one, he might want to be picked on merit. Do you know?
Yeah, I think they're a consideration. You know, last year he really struggled with his disappointment. We're just talking about, I got a bit of Fifey's with Bob Murphy. It's a tough business to go into if you're going to have 44 employees and 22 are going to miss every week. You know, and so there's 50% of your workforce going to be disappointed every week, and if you're the manager of that, you know, it's costing them money and affecting lots of things. It's a hard thing to manage, so you're always trying to keep people up. So he was really disappointed last year, and he was playing good football last year, but the same thing, we made our choices. And but he got his head around, look, you know, I'm contracted, you're paying me well, and my legacy can be what he saw Zach Dawson do and earn a lot of respect and commit to Peel, and if we need you, come up. So, yeah, and some people are a bit more embarrassed by it. You know, he hasn't been a docker for life, although he's played 120 games for us. He's been a great acquisition for us. Can't speak highly enough. So, in the end, they're still working through a little bit of that, yeah.
Is there a case to argue that he could and should be picked on merit, given what he's done week after week at Peel? Ross, he's rolled out big numbers.
Yeah, no, he has. I wish everyone had remembered that when we did pick him. But they're all moot points, aren't they? But that's how it swings. 1 minute, you know, do it on merit, and then... But what happens is when he played, he becomes a whipping boy very quick, and there's no doubt that's hurt him. Like, they are human players, and, you know, he heard all the criticism. You know, I'm sort of impervious to it because I've been in the game 30 years and that. But I think when you've got kids and they go to school and you've got a lot of pride and you've been at a high level, you're not impervious to it. And so therefore, there's no doubt he's been scarred by that. And so he's just balanced up, do I need all that headache, or just to keep enjoying myself, bringing the legacy? Look, I've heard all the rumours, he's disgusted and doesn't want... It's all garbage. So, but it's just really those things you're talking about, you know. On merit, yes, I don't want to waffle on, but, you know, those human feelings of, are you embarrassed by it, are you in the way of Michael Johnson, why go through it now, Why be a whipping boy again? So we're just dealing with all that, picking up some of the pieces, to be truthful.
Do you think that criticism has detracted from his desire to, or have you seen it to detract from his desire to contribute at the top level at all?
Well, what I said was he committed to the legacy of bringing through our young players, and he's been super. They can't, when you're taking out the kids for breakfast, what's been good, the senior players, Pearce, Ballantyne, Johnson, how they're teaching us how to play and prepare. So that's really what he's committed to. And it's a really important role. You can see Brisbane didn't have enough of that, so they go and get Hodge. St Kilda are talking about getting someone like that. So we're fortunate we've got them in the door, and we've had them the last couple of years. It's certainly helping.
Ross Sandilands, Stephen Hill and Hamling, can you... any of them in?
Yeah, I can sort of shed some clarity on that. I was really expectant for Aaron, but he'd had a slight hiccup, so therefore he hadn't had the volume of work, and so it's a bit disappointing. We would like to have played Sean and him together, but we'll get that opportunity next year. And you can see with Cox drawing the ball with Collingwood, so we think Aaron can certainly do that. And Hamling and Stephen Hill should train and hopefully play, hopefully. And Swatowski.
Ross, have you had to try and pick the players up this week after what happened in Geelong?
Look, it's been an intense week, but I expected an intense week, and my job's to support the players, protect the players, and give context. And we felt we did that really well, and so we did the review. It was really sharp. We wanted they outspread us, and we know on the GPS one of the few times this year our run has every quarter dropped away. Is that physical or mental? It's probably a combination. Pretty tough, short. The context of the ground for it was 110 metres wide, so no width at all. So if you think of Subiaco, the narrowest ground in Australia and down there, it was actually 10 metres wider than Subi used to be. So you're starting to get some context. Incredibly windy, young, and they got a roll on, and Cheryl was saying it just kept peppering, and so they're really resilient. AFL players, I spoke about it. What do you want retired players? Because they're so resilient, and they just see next moment, they get on with it. So we gave them some solutions: compete, join in, and get your spread right. And that's what Collingwood are very good at, outnumbering at the contest and spreading. So if we can improve those things, we should improve. And gave context to the year, never as good, never as bad, but it's an opportunity to improve. And don't worry about, because you sign up, and I sign up. I don't think I'm going to sneak around in AFL footy. That's not what I'm about. You've got to write your own story, and when you don't write the right one, and when it was as bad as what it was, well, it's a torrent of critique. But that's okay. It's what you do about it and it's how you respond. And I expect us to respond in kind and play a lot better. Is it about the win-loss? I don't think so. It's really about improving our footy.
What have you made of the criticism aimed specifically at you and people saying maybe you've outworn your welcome?
Yeah. Well, I could break it into three lots. Well, there's the experts, there's a torrent of that's been coming all year and unwarranted and inaccurate. And so for me, I'm committed, I'm excited, I've committed to a rebuild. We know we won 8 games last year by an average of 8 points. We've won 8 this year. Everyone's focusing on the losses and the margins, and they're basically the same. We've won our 8 games by an average of 28 points against some pretty good teams, and that's when we had pretty good availability. So there's been clear improvement there. But everyone wants to talk about the losses. No one can close up a game. Well, there's a few can. But if you really want me to close it up and take away the space and take away... And if my indicator becomes percentage and points against, well, I'll start modelling to that. But we play an open game, expose everyone, give them an opportunity to express themselves and take it from there. But, I mean, I can close them up. I can roll up 4 around the stoppage and congest it and play 2 behind the ball. But I haven't done that all year, contrary to fingernail deep analysis. So we feel we've improved. We need availability because we're thin anyway, but we should be getting benefit. Adam Chera hadn't played a full season the last 2. We've got him to 21 games. So those things and Brayshaw, that all should kick in. You're seeing Cox, you're seeing Ryan. So I'm a glass half full. I'm really committed. I really want to go through the rebuild. I'm here, I'm not going anywhere. The board have been incredibly supportive. We had an innovation committee during the week that was scheduled for months that was termed the crisis meeting, and on the back of that, had a cup of coffee with Dale Alcott, Craig Card and Stephen. They've been amazing. So there's no wobbling. You just got to handle it, and it's how you respond and keep working. So it's pretty simple from here for me.
Obviously, it's a pretty stressful environment. How do you deal with it personally? Just there's a lot going on.
Oh, I've been stressed for a long time in AFL footy, but that's a high demand, high performance, high accountability, public role. That's just what it is. I'm conditioned to it. My personal strength is when I come in Monday, I wasn't reading the papers. I didn't listen to any. Am I aware that's going around? What I do is work. Come in, work my coaches, give them clarity. We had a great review. We had a sharp review that was clear. I don't sit and procrastinate. Because it was a baptism of fire at the Saints in 07 as an assistant coach in Sydney in 05 when you're getting criticised with the AFL CEO. So if you can impart that to your players, it's what you do with your feelings that counts. So high performers in any industry, if you're getting criticised, there's only one solution: work and get into action. So yeah, so for me, I'm pretty good.
Does any of it hurt though? Like you mentioned, wife and kids with Daniel Pearce. Does any of it hurt your family?
No, my family is off limits. I'm a professional coach. They've seen and heard it all before.
Ross, at the end of 2011, when Stephen Baker and a couple of the other guys at St Kilda played their last game for the club, how much has that sort of scenario helped with Daniel Pearce and Michael Johnson?
Yeah, it really helped. Really helped. But again, I mean, you can go back there, but no one's ever going to know the full story. But I don't need to.
And on a second topic, there's a second person that's mentioned and questioned the future of Bradley Hill here at Fremantle. Has he expressed any concerns with you about wanting to return to Melbourne?
Who's the first person?
I'm not sure off the top of my head.
If we can't get to the first, we can't get to that would shock me. That would shock me.
Rodney Eade said on radio this morning he believes he's requesting a return. Kelvin did.
Who?
Rodney Eade has said that about
That great
Bradley Hill.
investigative journalist, Rodney Eade. Yeah, I'm not here to deal in speculation. All I know is he's opening up a Pilates business. His girlfriend Sam's thrilled here. Come home for family. He's playing with his brother. It's been super for us. I think it just sits in that category of, well, you know what it is, so that's fine.
Ross, you talked about Daniel Pearce, but can you give some clarity on whether Johnson plays this week as a...
He's been a little bit sore. We're looking at their lineup because if Joel Hamlin comes in, can we play the three tools because Nyhouse? So that's what we're sort of looking at. But I think he's one of my favourites. And he's a great turnaround story here. He's sort of, his first year was second in the BNF, and in my view, was a wasted talent for 4 years. Didn't hold himself to account of condition and training how he should have, but that was straightened out. He lost his 5 kilos, got his skinnies, and he worried every team in the competition for a long time, so he's a pretty special player. So if Michael wants to play, that would be that wriggle room we got, he would play.
Ross, you spoke about the focus on the losses this year and the sort of criticisms that come with that and how anyone can clog up the stoppages or whatever. Do you feel that particularly the young guys are in a better place now, having learnt more from those losses that maybe might have been smaller if you had clogged them up the games or anything like that?
Yeah, well, that's what I said. I feel we're improving, but that will be yet to be determined. We'll need to gradually improve again, So we feel like not only have we debutant players, we've got a lot of games, as many as we can into most of them. It's not that they come in for 1 or 2 and they go out. They've stuck it out. So, and even analysing what's the big change for us. If you think from when we were a strong team, really, if you break it down to position, we've really lost our whole back line. McFarlane, Dawson, really Johnson in a real sense, Spur, Sutcliffe, Ibbotson, Duffield. That's all been wiped out. So that's what we're really looking to train up. If you look at it last week, it was Chera, Duman, Nyhouse, quite young, Kirsten down there hasn't played much down back. So that's been the greatest level of instability. It's quite difficult to train up at back 6 and get it to a really high level. And Alex Pearce, it's his first year back after missing 3. So even me looking, it gives great clarity about what we're trying to do and train up. Because they were a strong back 7. So if you really drill in, you go, well, it starts to make a bit of sense. Because our midfield's fundamentally intact, bar little bits and pieces. So, and our pressure forwards, De Boer, Main, Valentine, Walters. So we're trying to train up a set of that. And obviously Pavlich, but we've got Cox and Taberner, they're growing, and McCarthy, they're quite exciting as a three. But for our fans and members, they're the positions we're trying to train up. That doesn't happen overnight.
Ross, Fremantle's been pretty unfortunate with soft tissue injuries this year. Will the method of managing or preparing for the season change at all, or at least be reviewed before next season?
Yeah, look, again, the generalities are interesting, but internally we acknowledge since the bye, up until then it was really quite. But post the bye, for whatever reason, there's been a higher incidence of some soft tissue, and I think predominantly hamstring, without going to exact numbers. So that review's already started. Our team, it can be simple as we've been training up here, so the quality of weights on our second session on our legs hasn't been the same. So there's been a cost to coming up here, but they'll drill in. Jason Webber and his team, like Ken Withers has been, and Peter Steele, Jeff Boyle, they're long-time people, in particular Boyle and Withers have been with us since inception. And Jason Webber coached the Wallabies, the Australian. There's no more qualified person in Australia. He's been with us 8 years, so without being perfect, I'm sure that they'll drill in and present it up. Let the cobblers do the cobbling. It's not my area. I've got high trust in Jason Webber and his team.
Ross, is any of Saturday's match about winning back some respect after last week?
Yeah, well, your reputation's always online. You're always only as good as your next moment, whether you're a coach or a player. But we're in it together. We don't win and lose separately. I'd like to think that's a strength. When we win, everyone wins. It's not. It's about a team, and success has many fathers. Failure is an orphan, so that's been highlighted. But it really is about we'd like to earn some respect back. Like no one's more invested than coach, players, and executive, but we exist to represent our members in the Docker community, and clearly we let them down. But there are some mitigating circumstances.
Ross, will there be any debutants for this week's game?
A slim chance, but unlikely. Yeah, we'll get out there and train. So Peel got a finals opportunity. They play East Perth this week. It's been a great alignment. We've won the last two. If they were to win this weekend, they could make the finals. And we loved our young players. There's Luke Ryan was best on the ground in the grand final, and he's shone. Ed Langdon, or was it Connor Blakely, was best on the ground, when it probably should have been Ed, but either way, both of them, if you can stand up in waffle finals and play well, you're a good player. And I think, like the Tim Kelly exercise, as a rule, if you're dominating waffle footy consistently and you've got the athleticism, well, you can play off our footy. So it's quite exciting for our young players if that opportunity, and I think it's a good one for the recruiters to have a good look at.
And is Darcy Tucker available for selection?
Yeah, he's come back. He's had the groin, so yeah. We're hopeful. We need that run and experience. He's played 45 out of 66 now in his first 3 years, so we're looking for him to. He's going to be a great player for this club, so we're just looking for him to get back in if we can.
Will you talk to Brendan Goddard at all about even an off-field role? Or?
No, again, I saw the headline. Like he's been one of the special players in my coaching tenure, and the footy he was playing in the 09 grand final, and that year was unbelievable. He broke his collarbone. I was a bit hard. We sort of got him back out in the ground. So that was Kelly tackled him during the third quarter. So, and his 10 grand finals unbelievable. So we had some interest in him when he was leaving St Kilda, when he was really, for whatever reason. So he's played 120 high-level games, but it's not the journey we're on. Yeah, and we're fully booked. All our coaches are committed. We're signed. I don't see any openings anyway. Although, yeah. Thank you.
Very good. I was just going to say, where's Harley at after coming off last week? Harley Benham?
Yeah, well, we know he's had a slight calf strain, though nothing dramatic. Look, really disappointing, but we've invested so much. He's carrying himself well. We need to find a solution. There's enough fat on our list and opportunities that we can stick with Harley for another year, but clearly it's his last chance if we can't get him up. I mean, there was part of me thinking, is it best for Harley? Because, make no doubt, if we delisted Harley, another club would pick him up. I know that for a fact. And there's a bit maybe it was better because they might be able to solve his problem. That's what I was thinking. But Harley didn't want to do that. He said, I want to pay you back and I want to get myself right and I want to play great footy. So we all get another window, but make no mistake, we understand it's Harley's. And Harley said that to me the other day. So he's really desperate to take that opportunity. But, gee, if we can get him up, the game will be better for it.
Doesn't impact him sort of going into next pre-season or anything like that?
No, he'll have to build up. So he really can't afford a break. He's just got to rehab it and get going. But he's making all the right actions on a daily basis. So otherwise he wouldn't have been afforded this opportunity. So, yeah, there's enough room. But, you know, personally, and I think we all would, wouldn't we? No one wants to see him out of the game. I'd be shocked if we didn't want to see him play AFL footy. Thanks, guys.